and welcome to the March edition of Darlo Till I Die, an independent podcast devoted to Darlington Football Club. I'm Adam Cattell, back again on hosting duties. And well, it was Andrew Nelson who rescued the point for Darlo with an injury time equaliser to lead the final score Darlington 2, Rushall Olympic 2. But it's very much 2 points drop for the Quakers as their top 7 hopes look to be increasingly unlikely. Joining me on the panel today to dissect this and much more, I'm delighted to finally get him on. It's Darlo Fans Radio's very own Stuart. How are you, Stuart?
Doing well, thank you. Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Fantastic. And alongside Stuart, we've got a man with over 50 years of association with Darlington. These days, you'll find him overseeing the club's fantastic hospitality, where he's the one usually asking the questions. But today, he's in the hot seat. A warm welcome to Andy Scullion. How are you doing, Scully?
I'm very well, thank you. Again, thank you for having me on. I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, boys, so we'll get straight into it. The game yesterday, finishing up 2 apiece. Stu, for all the exiles and those who couldn't be there, it definitely sounded like it wasn't one for the purist. How do you sum it up?
Yeah, not one for the purists is a good way to put it. I'm glad it's not a one that you decided to fly over from Australia to come and watch, Adam. That probably wouldn't have been the best use of your time. It wasn't great. I didn't think we started all that brightly. Pitch was very bobbly, difficult to get the ball down. But we got our noses in front. Matty Cornish got an opener. And from that point, you thought, OK, we haven't started great here, but it'll probably be all right. Rushall will be relegated this year. I think they're 11 points from safety as it stands with half a dozen games left. You know, that being disrespectful, they're going down. And then I think we just gifted them an equaliser, which, you know, the type of goals that we've conceded recently have been very un-Darlo-like. That was another one yesterday. Gave Rushall a lift, sucked the atmosphere out of the tin shed a little bit, which had been pretty good. And then we struggled, I thought, from that point to get back hold of the game. I think in his post-match interview, I think both Matty and Toby, when they were talking to us, used the word control. You know, we couldn't really get control of the game, and it just sort of meandered its way through the rest of the game, really. You know, I don't think there was great football on display from both. We've had some excellent home performances this year. This wasn't one of them, and arguably we got an equaliser in injury time, but we were probably a bit fortunate to get a point. So yeah, not our finest day, and probably a game that we needed to win.
Yeah, Scully, it's been a tough March for Darlo, hasn't it? 2 games a week. Do you think there's a lot of the squad now maybe running on empty?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I'm quite lucky. I get to speak to a lot of the lads before the games, after the games, when I'm sorting food out for them and other things. And several players are carrying injuries where if we'd had a bigger squad, they probably could have had a rest for a game or 2. But because we haven't got the numbers, they're having to play through the pain barrier. You know, Scotty Barrow in particular. It's tough. We've played a lot of games in a short space of time, and as Stu said, it's very un-Darlo. Like, you know, we've gone from being a rock solid defence to being a little bit porous at the moment. But I would still say I'd rather be where we are now than this time last year. You know, so we've got to take a positive from that. It has been a season of rebuilding. I think it's given the gaffer and Terry the chance to look at the squad and know what needs changing and what needs improving for next season. So I'm not overly downhearted. Of course, as a fan, you always want to win every game and win promotion and stuff, but that's not possible for everybody. So, yeah, tough watch, but hey, we go again.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Stewie just trying to keep a positive angle on it. In recent weeks, I mean, we've talked about Jack Maskell a lot on this podcast, and no one can ever question the lad's commitment. But in the last few weeks, we've started to see a little bit of output in terms of like goals and assists. Obviously, he laid on the equaliser for Andy Nelson. It looks like he's really starting to find his feet now at this level.
Yeah, delighted for him, and you know, I would back that up. You think he was, you know, Cedric was injured earlier in the season. I imagined that we were going to be trying to go for Cedric and Jack up front as a 2 or one playing off the other when we were in pre-season. Cedric got that injury, he was out for quite a while, and Jack was stuck up front, really, working that front line alone. I don't think that was probably the plan. Now, Stephen Terry, I think, really like this young player. I know they watched him last year. I think he was the key player that they wanted to bring in. He was the guy that they wanted, and they've brought him in. They've been super patient with him. It's been ups and downs, and I think nobody would ever criticise the effort, the miles covered, the work rate that he puts in. He's very tidy in the air. Technically, perhaps a couple of things to work on, it looked like earlier in the season, but as the season has gone through, he's grown into that role. He's stringing together some consistently good performances now, and is certainly ending the season much more like the player that we thought we were going to get than he looked earlier in the season. I give him full credit to that, because the lad gets his head down, he doesn't shirk, he doesn't shy away, and even though obviously by however you measure it, he would have wanted to have a bigger contribution this season in the first half of the season. I know he would, everybody would want him to, but he's digging it in, and he's getting better and better each week, and as we move towards the end of the season, he's beginning to look like that player that we thought we were going to get, and all credit to him.
Yeah, definitely, and I think it was just sometimes it just takes you a while to find your feet, doesn't it? And yeah, next season I think it's going to be a really big one for Jack. Scully, I want to ask you about the pitch. It attracted a lot of comments after the game. Even Steve Watson referenced it in his post-match interview. Just obviously, you're on there before the game, aren't you? What's your take on it?
Yeah, I mean, it's not the best, to be fair. There's a lot of sand, there's a lot of bald patches. Unfortunately, we are tenants of the rugby club, and they do play on it as well, time to time, which probably doesn't help it. But at the end of the day, it's their club. But you can also look at some of the pitches in the Football League. I think there was a post on socials today where someone was highlighting pitches, the likes of Barrow and Colchester, Bradford City. Quite a few clubs have got pitches that are a lot worse than they have been recently. And I don't know whether that's to do with the time of year, the weather. Stu touched on this once before as well. We have a really good drainage system within the pitch now. And whether the water gets sucked out of it too quickly, if that makes sense, the water doesn't get a chance to work on the roots, etc., etc. It's not ideal. You can look back to the 70s and look at some of them pitches at the baseball ground and other places that were just pure mud. So we can't use that as an excuse all the time. I know it's one of those excuses that's trotted out quite a lot, isn't it? But we've all played on pitches far worse than that. I mean, my touch was never good anyway, so it didn't really bother me. But yeah, it's to recap, it's not ideal.
Yeah, I mean, I'd jump in, Adam, again on that one. It's not great at the minute, but I would say in balance. I think since Nathan, the groundsman, has come in, who I've not met, I mentioned him as if I know him, I don't, but I know he's been pretty good on social media, and I genuinely think it's much better than it has been a couple of years ago, so I give him full credit. But we get to this time of year and it struggles. As Scully said there, it drains very well. There's no sprinklers there, so you can't get water on it when you need to get water on it. There's sand getting kicked up yesterday. It's almost like a middle of May type of pitch than a middle of March type of pitch, and it's bobbly as heck. Now, as Scully says, it's not an excuse. We can't make an excuse of it. But as a statement of fact, it's not in great shape at the moment, and it's difficult to get the ball down. A simple 5-10 yard pass from a centre back to a fullback, your fullback can't really gamble on the touch. He's got to wait till it gets to him to see how it's going to react. You're not going to be putting much in first time, and it just acts as a bit of a leveller. We've seen plenty of the type of football that Steve and Terry want to play this year. They want to get the ball down. We want to be. I don't think we're like super pure, but we're a footballing type of team. And if you're in that sort of pitch, allied with a run of performances and results that aren't perfect, and your confidence is maybe a little bit low, it's not helpful. And it's a leveller, and it was a leveller yesterday, I thought.
Yeah, definitely. So, look, that draw does leave us 11th in the table at the minute, Scully. We're on 58 points from 39 games. Kings Lynn in 7th in that last playoff place place. 8 points ahead of us on 66 points, albeit they've played one game more than we have. But I think even the most optimistic of Darlo fans now might be thinking the playoffs might be a tall order. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. But look, hey, every season it seems to be that a team makes a late run for the playoffs, and you just never know. I mean, we've got a difficult game Tuesday night against Chorley. Watch us go and turn them over, get a bit of confidence back under our belts, and we go on that late run. I think as well, I'd rather be in this position now, just outside the playoffs and going for the playoffs, than this time last year when we didn't know whether we would even be in this league this year. It's a tough ask, but it's not impossible. I think it was it Kidderminster last season who made a run right at the end? I think they won 7 on the bounce, didn't they? And got into the last playoff space. So it can happen, And teams around us, looking at the fixtures, teams around us have all got to play each other. So that's football, isn't it? That's who knows. Who knows what's going to happen at the minute?
I think Adam, I'll be the realist here a little bit. I think, and I'm joking a little bit. I agree with what Scully says there. But look, he did a post-match interview after the Radcliffe home game, and I said, look, we probably need 6 more wins to get you into that Landon zone where it's probably 75-ish points. Now it might be a couple less, but it might be a couple more. But I think you want to be looking at 75 as a good points total that is likely to get you that 7th place. So we needed 6 wins out of 10 after Radcliffe. We still need 6 wins out of 7 now, I think, after the last 3 games, because we haven't won any of them. Nobody knows if it's 75. Maybe that's not the magic number. Maybe it's a couple less. Maybe it's a couple more. But it's in that Landon spot. Now, the frustrating thing for me yesterday is we had the bottom 4 to play. So you start to think, well, hang on a minute. You've got your bottom 4. South Shields, we've beat them away. We've got them at home. Scarborough, nothing special this year. All of a sudden, you start to think, well, hang on, it's not beyond the realms of possibility. But I don't think anyone who watched yesterday would probably be thinking there's an awful lot of hope of us winning 6 out of 7 at the moment. I'll never say never, and nobody will be happier than I can. But it's it's going to be a big reversal from where we are now to get it. But I'm all on Scully's optimism. Boat if we can get there.
Yeah, like Scully said, it would be very dull if we did beat Chorley on Tuesday. Yeah. Sorry, Andy, go on.
I'm saying you've got to be optimistic. It's the only thing that keeps us going as football fans and Darlo fans. Hey, between us, we've got a lot of experience of watching Darlo, so we know what to expect.
Absolutely, and football it's very fickle, isn't it? If we beat Chorley on Tuesday night, then everyone's going to be buzzing again and saying, it's back on. We'll have to wait and see what happens with that one.
I'll be disappointed. I'll be disappointed if we don't get 9 on Tuesday night, just to even things up a little bit.
Yeah, we owe Chorley one, don't we? After that 8-0, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I was there that night, and it was I've seen some bad games in my life watching Darlo, but that was right up there, to be fair.
I've seen worse. That's another story for another night. But I mean, we can dissect that one another time. Probably don't want to bring it up here. But having 10 men for 89 minutes wasn't very helpful that night. But I mean, just picking up on one thing Scully did say, I wouldn't want to let go past, which is, look, it's at the very least, whatever happens has been a season of stability compared to where we were last year. And you can honestly say there's some progress there. And when I listen to Steve, particularly in his post-match interviews, he talks about this being a step in that direction and part of the, I know it's a cliche, the journey that we're on. And I think that's how he sees it. That's what he says. So it's certainly a better all-round season than last season.
Yeah, 100%. Look, moving on. Obviously, it's been a difficult last week or so for Darlington, but someone who is having a very good time of it at the minute is, of course, Dan Burn, Newcastle's Wembley hero and now England debutant. It's been quite a week, and for Dan, began his senior career right here at Darlington. I'll come to you, Scully, because I know you've been sharing a few old press clippings of Dan when he started out at Darlington back in, I think, 2009. 2009. I mean, it did spark a bit of debate amongst fans about who was the last Darlo player, excluding loanees, because, of course, we've had Gary Pallister and more recently Jordan Pickford, who have gone on to play for England. I don't know. I'll throw it out. Can you remember who the last Darlo player was to go on and play for England?
I mean, I saw a couple of pieces about back in the 50s, goalkeeper wise and what have you. I think that possibly is, was his name escapes me now. My God, that's not good of me. What was his name?
Yeah, I can tell you his name was Ray Wood, and he's one of the Busby Babes.
Exactly.
And,
yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So yeah, potentially he is the last ex-Darlington player to go on and play for England. Funny enough, it was funny. I was just thinking this the other day. How many international players that we've had who have played for Darlington, either on loan or have been our players. Obviously, we had Justin Donower with Bermuda and so on and so forth. But home counties wise, I was thinking Carl Lafferty went on to play for Ireland. Obviously, David Speedy played for Scotland. I can't think of anyone who's played for Wales. That'd be quite an interesting quiz question. I mean, Ryan Valentine played for Wales under 21s. Yeah. Chris Evans,
yes, he did,
played for Wales. Actually, just thinking about that, Chris Evans. But yeah, it sounds like Ray Wood, and then obviously now Dan Burn, which is fabulous.
I mean, I remember
it's been great, hasn't it, Stuart? Yeah.
On Dan in particular, I mean, what a good kid he was. That's what you remember. I mean, that's what everyone said at the time. He came in, I remember I didn't go to Torquay for his debut away from home, because even that stretches my loyalty, Torquay away. That's not one I've done. But I remember him in that second season in particular, the conference season as it was. We went down in the first season. And you didn't expect him to be good, because you looked at him physically, and I think as a physical specimen, I saw he was interviewed last night. I watched an interview. I think he was only about 80 kilos at that time, so he was dead lightweight. He wasn't as bulky and big as he is now. He was just like a lamppost, basically. And you looked at him and thought, this he's going to struggle. He's not going to be any good. But he was good, and he was good he was good on the ball. He was for the level that we were at. That was the thing that was impressive. So he defended well. He was obviously good in the air, but he was really good on the ball. But I mean, he went on. He did brilliantly. The Gateshead away semi-final and 0-0, where he partnered Dusty Miller at the back, and we got the 0-0, and there was 2,500 Darlington fans there. It was a brilliant coming-of-age performance. He went shortly after that, but the other bit of Dan Burn that I remember is sitting at Heritage Park when we knew we were in trouble financially. And it was maybe a couple of seasons after we'd restarted or something like that, and I got the team sheet through saying he'd made his debut I think he was starting in the Premier League for Fulham, and if memory serves me right, and people at the club will remember this, that triggered a clause, and I think at that stage we were in a little bit of trouble, and it came through just at the right time, so eternally grateful to him. He talks very fondly of his time at the club. He talks very fondly, particularly of Craig Liddle, and fair play to him. Couldn't have been happier for him.
And I've put out a couple of feelers to him to see if he can get me some England stuff signed that we can use to raise some funds, but also to see if he's up to do a Q&A to come to Darlo pre-season and do an evening with, which I think would be tremendous for us as fans, but it would also be tremendous for the club to raise some funds. And also, we're in the process at the moment of arranging a golf day in July, and he's already down to come and play in that, along with a lot of other Newcastle United legends, etc. Obviously, Stevie Watson's got those contacts. So again, that would be fabulous. And he's the sort of bloke I know that will come back to us at some point and say, absolutely, whatever I can do for you, I'll do it. So, it's fabulous.
Yeah, he seems a really grounded, well, not so young these days, but seems a really grounded individual. And I'm sure that time at Darlington probably helped him keep his feet on the floor. I mean, he almost even scored for England, didn't he? Did he hit the bar? I think on his debut. Yeah. That just would have been the cherry on the cake, wouldn't it, if he'd have managed a goal on his England debut as well. But yeah, fantastic to see. And it's not happened overnight for him, has it? I think he might have played in every division, I think, pretty much, including the conference. So yeah, it's fantastic to see. Now, speaking of Dan Burn, guys, the other week I caught up with one of Dan's old teammates, Paul Arnison, who, like myself, is living here in Australia. And Arnie as well as being an old teammate of Dan Byrne, he's also an old teammate of Jordan Pickford as well. So I caught up with him, and he gave me a little bit of insight on his 3 very eventful seasons in Darlington. So we're going to hear from Arnie now. Myself, Stu and Scully will be right back after this. I'm really pleased to be joined by former Darlington defender Paul Arnison. Paul joined the Quakers back in 2009. He was signed by Colin Todd after his release from Bradford City. Over the next 3 seasons, he made 89 appearances and, of course, was part of that FA Trophy winning side in 2011. Arnie, how are you doing?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, really good, really good. Obviously, Darlington was your last professional club after a long career. Would it be fair to say that those 3 years at Darlington were amongst the more eventful of that career?
You could say that, but also I really enjoyed it. People might find that strange, a lad from Hartlepool finishing his career at Darlington. I did get a bit of stick at the time from obviously Hartlepool fans and mates, and probably people at Darlington on why he signed for us. But do you know what? I really enjoyed it. There was loads of ups and downs, and that's part of the journey in football. Yeah, the people were great with me. The fans were great. I thought I'd done all right. I wasn't just coming for a payday. That certainly wasn't what I was after, because I wasn't on much money anyway. So I was coming because I wanted to play football. Obviously, it was closer to home and 15-20 minutes down the road, and obviously dropped my kids off at school and being there for them was important. But yeah, I say crazy 3 years, a really good 3 years, and yeah, it's probably one of my favourite clubs I played for, if I'm going to be brutally honest.
Yeah.
People will find that a bit strange, but as I say, great people, great bunches of lads that people move on at different times, and some really interesting and good coaches along with it.
We were just chatting before there, I think I said you played under 7 different managers in 3 years, which is some going. So you like I mentioned at the start there, signed by Colin Todd along with quite a few new faces at the time, and you get off to quite a bad start, and Colin's sacked. So in comes Steve Staunton, who's a very big name, Liverpool and Ireland. But pretty quickly, you and a few other first-team players, you find yourself frozen out. So what was that period like for you?
Yeah, it was obviously difficult and frustrating, because when Steve come in, we played away against to Leeds in a cup competition on the Tuesday or the Wednesday night. He come in with Kevin Richardson, his assistant, and said, look, this is a fresh start for everybody. We'll judge everybody on how we see. We went out, I think Leeds beat us maybe 2-1 or 2-0, but we played really well. But then from then on, he didn't want the senior players around, which I thought was very strange. Without even giving the lads a chance, there was no egos in that group of that we were there. There was no big town Charlies, as they used to say. It was just like an honest bunch of professional lads who'd been around the game and probably could have helped him with it being his first. I think it was his first professional manager.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah.
Yeah, he just brought loads of lonely lads in, from Birmingham, Aston Villa. Look, some of them have gone on to have really good careers, which is fine. But yeah. I think you always need 1 or 2 good pros around the squad. And as I say, it was frustrating, but at the same time, he banished myself and a few other lads to train with Lids, and I loved it. To be fair, Lids' sessions, and you used to speak to many former Darlo lads and players. They'll tell you Lids was a great coach, unbelievable guy, and that we loved these sessions because everything was high tempo. It was sharp. I was probably the fittest that I'd been at like 30, 31, because his sessions were at a good tempo, and as much as it was frustrating, we even got to the point where I would train with Lids' youth team before the first team players had come in, because Steve didn't want any of us even associating or talking to them. It was a weird and strange setup. I'll never forget one day in the lift at the home game. I'm in the lift coming down to the old arena, and Raj gets in the lift and he's like, oh, he's the troublemaker. So, Steve had obviously portrayed myself as a troublemaker, but, I just got my head down and worked really hard and kept fit. And inevitably, when Steve got sacked, Lids rang me that Saturday night and says, Arnie, I hope you're not out drinking an Hartlepool, are you? And I'm like, no, I'm in the house with the kids. Why? We've got a game Tuesday, you're playing. Because he knew that for the last 2 or 3 months, I'd been obviously training with him and got my head down and, done it right, if you like. I didn't toss it off. And I think that was important just for him, because obviously he didn't want us to go and wreck his sessions for the youth team. So once Steve got the sack, Craig brought me back in, and I think we played on the Tuesday night. We might have won 2-0 at home to somebody, but my memory's not that the best. But as I say, it was tough. Being frozen out, but if I hadn't done anything wrong, as I say, made a train with the kids. There was even one or twice turned up to a training session. The kit was dirty. Steve said to Tomo, the kit man, don't wash his kit. Look, I wasn't the only one. There was about 4 or 5, but I think you've got to be mentally strong and tough and resilient, because as I say, we didn't deserve it. Now, if he'd have just come to us and just said, listen lads, you're not for me, but I'll treat us with a bit of respect, because he played for, as we said, Liverpool and Ireland, and many of Cas played at World Cups, and we looked up to him because of where he'd been and who he was. So I thought he got it wrong. But as I say, every coach is entitled. But what I didn't like was he portrayed me as a bad egg, and I certainly wasn't. I wasn't out, because obviously once he got sacked, I obviously worked my way back into the team, and lasted another couple of seasons. So if I was that bad of an egg, I would have been gone by lids and stuff. So I just thought that it was very, very shit on Steve's behalf, if you like, if I can say that.
I think there was like 54 players used in that season, and like you mentioned, there were a couple of lads that we brought in who did go on and have very good Football League careers, like someone like Jonathan Hogg springs to mind, but we end up being relegated from League 2 into non-league. And then Mark Cooper, following, I think, Simon Davey and Ryan Kidd, very briefly, Mark Cooper comes in as a little bit of a rebuild. You're back in the side, so I think that next season we come 7th in the league, which would have got you a playoff spot. These days, but we make the final of the FA Trophy. I'd like to ask you, obviously that's an event many Darlo fans like to look back on. Chris Senior, last minute of extra time when it looked like we were heading to penalties. How was that whole experience for you? Would that have been the first time you played at Wembley?
Yeah, it was an unbelievable experience. I remember when Darlo beat Hartlepool in the playoffs. That, obviously, if we'd have been Darlington that night, we would have played at Wembley. That would have been the first time. But to play at that was the old Wembley. To play at the new Wembley was something I'll never forget. I mean, we both boys, Harry and Alfie, were mascots. Which unbelievable experience for them. It's a bit of a blur really, because it all happened so fast, and I didn't get any pictures from the day. You look back, you think, why didn't I take some pictures? And the dressing room of the pitch, the stadium and the fans. But as I say, memories that'll last a lifetime on the pitch. Obviously for Chrissy Senior to pop up in the last minute and win it for us was a die in seconds, if you like, and when it was probably the best feeling ever, to be fair. But Mark Cooper and Richard Dryden were two great guys. I say, they brought me back into the fold. I didn't play every game, but I think again they brought some senior lads in, which you needed in the conference to try and get out of it. And being there with Carlisle, we managed to get out of it through the playoffs. The year we got relegated, so it's not an easy league to get out. You look at the teams in there now, and again years ago, it's not an easy league to get out. So as I say, it was tough, but I've got a lot of respect for Mark and for Richard. They did a good job. As I said, the lads bought into what they were trying to do. It would have been nice if we could have got promoted, but as I say, obviously lovely way to end. Went out with their FA Trophy final at Wembley, and as I say, last minute winner, you can't beat it.
Yeah, would you have been up for a penalty if it had gone to penalties?
Do you know what? I would have took one, but I missed one away to Barrow in the season in the league game. Yeah. But I was like looking at the clock thinking, shit, I'm like one of the older pros in this team here. Yeah. If a young lad didn't want to take one, I'd have stepped up and took one. But it would have been a nerve-wracking experience. So we didn't get to that. But I thought I would have stuck my hand up and took one. Yeah. As I said, missed one earlier on the season at Barrow probably wouldn't help me, but we didn't get that far, thankfully. Yeah, well, speaking of Barrow, the next season it all starts to unravel pretty quickly, and Raj leaves the club. We're in administration, and that fateful game away at Barrow, where many Darlo fans thought it could be the last ever game that Darlo play. What are your memories of that day? Because obviously I think a few of the first team had started to leave by then, but you're still there. Yeah, what are your memories? Yeah, it was again strange and weird, and we'd had a meeting earlier on the week, and some of the lads couldn't even afford to get into training. The young boys, and I don't want to drop anybody's name in it, but you look at Dan Byrne, who's obviously got a massive thing. Yeah. He couldn't afford him and I think it was John Reddy. I can't think of the lad's name. They used to travel from like Blythe and up that way at Newcastle.
John McCready. Yeah.
John McCready. That's the one. They couldn't get in because of weren't getting paid and that they're on the YTS money. So we literally said, look, lads, if you can get into train, come in and train, we'll probably just train 2 days a week instead of 4 or 5 days, whichever it was at the time. But lads stayed, even though they weren't getting paid, because we wanted to stick by the club. And then obviously when we turned up on the day of the game away to Barrow, it wasn't a nice feeling. But I think the fans had a whip round and raised over 10,000 quid, 12,000 quid, which you don't give it to Lids and the players. So it was, as I say, it was all weird and strange. But obviously we've gone out there to try and win the game at Barrow, and the lime green shirts on with the logo shape and stuff, and I don't think that went down too well. But as I say, Lids was throughout it all. Lids was great with us. He was honest with us, and that's what I said. The boys had the utmost respect for Lids. I can't even remember the result of the game.
I think we lost 3-0. I think,
right.
We lost 3-0.
We look at the Darlo fans turned up in the thousands to support us and stuff. Yeah. And absolutely, applaud us off the field, and it was quite emotional, because you're thinking, well, this could be the last ever game for Darlington. But as I say, it wasn't a nice feeling, and we got through the game, and as I said, the fans chipped in for the boys, and we all got a little bit of money each, which was an unbelievable gesture. That's why I enjoyed my time at Darlo, because they stuck with the lads, even from the lads from Hartlepool and all over the place. It's their football club. Do you know what I mean? So I had the chance to go on loan to Wrexham.
Did you? Right? Didn't know that.
I didn't want. Billy Barr used to be at Carlisle. He rang me. He's like, "Look at what's going on," and I told him, he's like, "Would you be interested in coming to Wrexham?" Yeah. And I was like, "Look, two things. Like, I'm at home with my family. I'm down the road. Kids go to school, and my wife works." I said, "So ideally, no, I'm not jumping ship on Darlington. I'm going to stick it out till the end of the season, and hopefully things can turn a little bit." So I didn't end up going. Obviously, I know a few lads, might have been Jamie Chandler and Hatchie.
They went to Gateshead.
Liam Hatch, went to Gateshead. I think obviously trying to get a little bit of money, and which is fine. It's football. They're trying to recoup a little bit of money and pay off the liquidators and all the debts and stuff. But I stuck it out. As I say, I had a lot of time for Lids, and obviously Maddock, 2 great guys who played at really good levels. But the fact that I enjoyed it, I still love going to training and playing games. That's that was me.
I mean, you mentioned Craig Liddell. Dan Byrne, I think, who is the sort of man of the moment right now, isn't he? He did mention Craig. I saw an interview that he did with Sky Sports the other day, and I think Dan was maybe close to just walking away from the game. I think he was talking about going to America and doing like college football or something, but Craig Liddell persuaded him to give it a crack at Darlo. So Dan's obviously an old teammate of yours, as is Jordan Pickford. So those two have sort of gone on to do quite well for themselves, haven't they? Did you get the sense back then that they were destined for big things?
Yeah, look, we'll start with Jordan. Obviously, Jordan come on loan from Sunderland. He had a big reputation as being I think he might have been in the England setup for young lads, maybe under 18s or 17s. It was his first taste of men's football, if you like, coming from academy football. So he did really well. The confidence, like big balls into the box and big centre forwards and big centre halves coming in to smash you. So he done really well. You could see there was potential there. Now, whether that would have been up there and then going, he's going to go and play Premier League and play X amount of games for England. But what a goalkeeper, what a career he's had. England's number one for the last 3 or 4 or 5 years. I'm sure he will be. But there was definitely signs there. As I said, they come in and helped us, and we were relying on. People always go back to this, like lads paying for mortgages and paying bills and relying on win bonuses. They were just coming on loan, but obviously Jordan was coming on loan, but he certainly stuck to his task, and you could definitely see there was potential there. And Big Dan Ben, as we called him and as he's called now, and you wouldn't have thought Dan would go on to represent Brighton and the Newcastle, and let's hope he gets an England cap, because the career he's where he's come from. You always see potential there, but Dan had just literally. I think I got left out of one of the teams. And I think we played away to Torquay.
That was his first game. Yeah, he come on for Mark Bauer.
And they got beat 5-0. So I think I was one of the ones that made way for obviously Dan to come in. But look, unbelievable for him and his family and his mum and dad. They'll be so proud of him. But listen, I hope he gets the England cap and play with these lads, not just from Darlington, but obviously Carlisle as well, like Danny Graham's, here in Westwood. I still at Glen Murray. I still used to look out for them and see where they're at. So some of them lads have had unbelievable careers. I've even got I got a signed shirt off Dan, a match worn shirt. I think I played away at Fulham. He signed it from the kids. So Dan King got me that through Newcastle. So yeah, as I say, a great gesture from Dan, and unbelievable how his career's gone from, let's say, stacking trolleys and Asda, playing with his mates, possibly going to America. Lids has obviously twisted his arm. I think it was a trial game he went to, and Lids obviously must have been invited him in. I think it was a trial for lads who didn't have a club at a team at the time. So you come in and a young lad thrown into the deep end when obviously we're going to administration, and he played a few games, which was for him. If Darlo hadn't gone to administration, he might have got his chance in the first team because we might have kept the senior pros in there, but because one or two left and he got his chance. And again, at the time, he probably didn't think Dan was going to go on to play Premier League. He probably wouldn't have thought he'd make 50 appearances for Darlo, let alone go and make X amount of Premier League games. But yeah, still follow Newcastle now, and he's been one of their most consistent players, and he's a Geordie through and through, and it means so much to him. So I'm delighted last weekend that they won the Carabao Cup, and for him to score the first goal and man of the match, and he was unbelievable in that final. So full credit to him, and I hope he goes and makes his England debut at some point this week.
Yeah, hopefully he gets the cap in one of those games at least. But let's finally just talk about life after Darlington then, Arnie. So we're both in the same corner of southeast Queensland in Australia, which is how we know each other. You've been here, you've been about just over 10 years now, haven't you? About 12 years or something. But
12 years,
You've moved into coaching. Tell us a little bit about what you're up to these days.
Yeah, we moved over for a new life with the kids and stuff, and just to try. We didn't think it'd go this well, and when I moved over, I'd emailed a few clubs and stuff, and I've moved over to Sunshine Coast and got in touch with Sunshine Coast Fire, which led into a coaching role with the under-18s, but still playing a little bit part-time, and because I still thought I could do a little bit, but the quality surprised me. Obviously in the heat and stuff, which was quite difficult, but from that, the coach left, and the owner asked me if I would be interested in coaching the men's team. I was like, well, don't really want to. I'm still like 35, 36. I still thought I could play for a year or two, but look, eventually I went into managing, and then just kept going and going. Now I coach we have the A League, and then the MPL, and then the FQPL one, which I'm currently in the FQPL one now with Caboolture. We did all right last year. Finished sixth, just outside the top four on goal difference. We've had a difficult start, 1 point out of 6, which is not great, but we've had a couple of weeks break. So I'm hoping, this weekend we've got a tough fixture away to Broadbeach, who have got some top players, a really good English coach. So it's going to be a good one. But I love coaching. I coach young kids from under 6s to under 16s, and during the day, and then after school and before school programs. But on a night is where I want to be with the senior men. I love it. That's my passion. If the opportunity ever comes to coach at a higher level, love to do it. It's just getting your foot in the door somewhere. Or you look at Graham Leeds, Spike, who I used to play with that Hartlepool and Bradford, doing really, really well at Spennymoor. I talked to him the other week, top guy. And I know he was at Hartlepool, and I think he got unfairly treated where they got rid of him after he'd done a really good job for Poole. So good players like that, or people like that, Spike, who used to play with, inspire me to try and get to that. I know it's difficult because I'm in Australia, and I'm only coaching FQPL 1 level, but I'd love to come back. Not love to come back. I wouldn't love to move back to England, but if the opportunity comes to coach or manage, whatever the college is, I'd snap your hands off to do, because as I say, this is all I've known since I was under 12, 13, at Newcastle, from under 16 all the way through now to 47. It's all I've done. I've been quite lucky, to be fair.
And of course, your son Harry is over in the UK at the minute. He's in the League of Wales, isn't he? I know he was at Blythe Spartans, but he moved on, didn't he?
Well, he's back now.
Is he back? I didn't know.
He was in Wales. Well, I went over to see him for a couple of weeks last year because he was a little bit sick, and he was on his own over in Aberystwyth, and so we were grateful at Aberystwyth. So he's at Blythe, and it didn't work out with Graham Fenton. He got two nasty injuries which kept him out for most of the season. And then Aberystwyth, I used to play with Anthony Williams.
Goalkeeper.
He persuaded Harry to go back and put him up in accommodation and got him a job. But he was just on his own because it was far out from all the other teams, and none of the lads lived there. So he got a bit homesick, so I went over to see him. And anyway, he's come back now, and he's playing up in Melbourne for Oakley Cannons.
Oh, is he? Right, brilliant.
Yeah, so once we come back home, we got in touch with a few people that reached out, and he went up and had they had a look at them. They had a look at him. So yeah, he's playing up there now. He's played the last 4 games, and they got beat last Friday night. But they've got a big game tonight against Preston Lions. Obviously, Preston Lions.
Oh yeah, they are a big club for anyone who's not aware. They are a very big club in Melbourne. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to have gone up tonight, obviously, and watch, because I think the last home game they had 9,000 against South Melbourne.
They did, yeah, 9,000. It's crazy, yeah.
So, but obviously with my game on Sunday, and my other son Alfie's got a game tomorrow, so yeah, preparing for that. So, no, he's enjoying it. As I say, different lifestyle, different culture. So his mindset was like, well, I want to try and get closer to home. So it just fell nicely for him. But as I say, he enjoyed, giving it a crack over in England. He was there for 3 years, which obviously helped him grow into, sort of a man and looking after himself and cooking and cleaning and stuff. So give him some responsibility. So he really enjoyed the experience.
Fantastic. I mean, and then I know you talk about potentially, opportunities in the UK, because there was an opportunity at Darlington not so long ago. After Alan Armstrong left the club, you did register your interest. That the job went to Josh Gowling. Now, I mean, it's all conjecture. I might offer you'd have done a better job than Josh Gowling, but yeah. So
I did. I did put my expression of interest in for it. Look,
yeah.
As I say, I'm thousand miles away. Probably really didn't think I would ever get a response, but. As I say, I want a coach, and obviously Josh got the job recommendations and didn't do a great job by all accounts. As I say, I still follow Darlington and Carlisle and Hartlepool, and Carlisle are in a shit position at the minute, and hopefully they can turn it around. But it seems to be, it's not going to happen. Obviously Hartlepool are just in and around. They have a couple of good results and stuff. So I'm always looking out for my old teams and clubs, and want them all to do really well. But yeah, look, if the opportunity comes to manage Darlington, I snap it off. And when I went back over.
You went to a game, didn't you? Yeah, it was a Scunthorpe game.
Scunthorpe Darlo played really well, but probably the better team, and I know Scully were top of the league that night. But, I was really impressed with the facilities and the setup they got there. It was Andrew was a top guy who looked after me, Harry, and my wife's brother that night. Was hospitality was fantastic. So, as I say, that club holds fond memories, and as I say, some really good people, and for them to reach out to me while I was going over there just shows how much people thought of me there. I suppose even if, as I keep going back to a boy from Hartlepool, they really enjoyed my time, and it was nice.
Brilliant. All right, well, I'll let you get on with the rest of your Friday morning now, Arnie. It was great to chat and hear those old memories and those very eventful time in the club's history. And wishing you well with Caboolture for the rest of the season.
Thanks, Adam. Great chat, mate.
Thank you.
Big thanks to Arnie there for taking the time to chat. I can tell you his Caboolture side, unfortunately, they did lose this afternoon 3-2 to Broadbeach. They were 2-0 up as well, so he won't be happy. Broadbeach included Nathan Lowe in their squad this season, I can tell you. Former Darlington loanee. There you go, a little bit of Quakers down under there. So, Scully, I'll come to you, because Arnie, of course, there mentioned that he was a guest of hospitality when he was back in the UK a few months ago at the goalless draw with Scunthorpe, and said was very thankful how you looked after him. So maybe an opportunity for you now to get on your soapbox and just try and plug hospitality. I've done it when I'm back in England. I always try and get in there for at least a game. Would thoroughly recommend. But yeah, here's your chance, Scully.
Right, thank you. Yeah, hospitality. I tell you what, for a Darlington fan who's been a Darlington fan for as long as I have, if someone had said back to me all those years ago, one of these days you'll help run the club and you'll organise things like this. I mean, I get to talk to Darlington legends day in, day out. What is not to like? And not only Darlo legends. I mean, my guest yesterday was Liam Hardy, Northern Premier League winner, but also in the room was Chris Edwards, bass guitarist of Kasabian. And I was chatting to him, and I told him that you were at his concert on Tuesday night down there in Australia.
I was.
And he'd flown home Thursday, and
wow, I didn't realise they were back. Brilliant.
Yeah, and he was telling me their last concert that they did, they literally left the concert, went to the airport and got on the plane. They didn't even get changed or anything. They literally were onto the plane. They were in business class. There was 17 of them in a 70 business class cabin. That's all there was. So they all had a huge space of themselves and what. But that's part and parcel of what we do. It's not just footballers who come. We've had TV people. It's a fabulous experience, as you know, Stu. It's a great experience. We have a good laugh. We have a good chat with the Q&As with the players. We do a few daft games, heads and tails, and stuff like that. And it's proving super popular. I mean, we've got 4 games left in this season in hospitality, and 3 of those are sold out. That's fantastic at our level. We had the Rushall directors in yesterday, having a little look and seeing what we do. And everybody who comes in says, what a fabulous thing it is. And it raises a few quid for us as well. That's the top and bottom of it. It's a really good money earner for us. And for me personally, I know it takes 10 hours a day. That's what it takes for me to set up hospitality and do everything and stuff. But it just flies over because it's such a pleasure. I mean, I have to say at this point, not that she'll probably listen to this, but I have to say at this point, I have to thank my wife. When I left home at 8:30 yesterday morning, she never says anything. She never says, she knows I'm going to be out all day, 12 hours at the football, and she never quibbles and she never moans at me. So I've got to thank her for
She's
that.
Probably delighted.
It is a big ask.
You beat me to it, Stu.
Quite possibly. But no, listen, if you've never tried hospitality, you're not going to get in this season now, but please come along next season, experience it, have a look at it. The food is first class. The atmosphere is first class. It's just a really good experience.
I just, all credit, Scully, joke aside, I brought some friends who were not Darlo fans in, some work colleagues and stuff like that. We came to a game, I think it was the season before last. They loved it. They thought it was great. The accessibility to the players that you've got, the Q&A and stuff like that. So they loved it. They want to come back, but I keep trying to say I'm a bit busy on a match day. So it's I'll have to get myself a day off first to be able to do it. But they loved it. And I mean, I think the only problem with it is we just can't quite get enough people in. If the room was half the size again, I'm sure we'd fill it most of the time. So, it's operating in the facility.
The last game, a perfect example, last game of the season, Needham Market, probably, potentially going to be a dead rubber. We don't know that yet. We've got 100 booked into hospitality and we've got 56 on the waiting list. 56! And it kills us. It kills me to think we're turning down 56 lots of money. That we just can't get them in. It's good that we're successful and we're full every week, but yeah, you're right, Stu. If we just had a bit more space, we could improve it and we could expand it. I mean, I was at York for the trophy game and I was up in hospitality, and they've just got space after space after space, which I just wish we had, that we could utilise. And hopefully, I mean, the gaffer spoke about it in his interview yesterday. Hopefully, fingers crossed, touch wood, that, hopefully something positive is going to come out soon, that perhaps we can, get up to that next level, make that step up into,
Definitely, Scully. I didn't realise Kasabian were back in England already, having just been at the gig on Tuesday. It was a fantastic night. I did put something on the socials. Wore me Darlo top and actually got chatting with a Pooley fan and a fella from Grimsby, a Grimsby Town fan. But yeah, it was good crack. Yeah, great night. And you had to hear about hospitality going from strength to strength. Let's move on to you now, Stu.
Darlo before you
Fans
do,
Radio,
Adam,
obviously.
I have to say, sorry to interrupt you, I'm going to go, but I mean, if they went straight from the stage without getting changed straight onto the plane, I'm just awful glad I wasn't sat next to them, because that's a long, sweaty journey back with the bass guitar player.
Obviously not, because being in business class, they had their own showers, etc. That's why they knew they could go straight to their clothes were already there waiting for them, so they just got on the plane. They had their showers. It was the timing of the way the flight was leaving. It was leaving at that. It wasn't their own plane. They were on a commercial flight, but it as he said, it saved them money and it helped them get home quicker, because they didn't have to pay for another night of the hotel and this, that, and the other and stuff. So no, I think they all had a shower each by the sound of it on the plane. And to be fair, he was desperate to get back to watch the Darlo. So I mean, he had to get a straight.
Fantastic.
So his son was one of the mascots yesterday as well, and his son's a big Darlo fan now, massive Darlo fan, and he's 13. He's at the age where he can pick his own football teams, and Darlo are definitely one of his teams now.
That's great, because I think Chris is a Leeds fan, isn't he? He's a Leeds United fan.
He is a Leeds fan. Yes, I mean his two brothers were with him yesterday, and one's a Leeds fan, one's an Oldham fan, and the other one who was born in Darlington. That's also how one of the connections comes about. That Chris's brother is from Darlington, like a lot of Darlo fans, a lot of Darlington-born people. There's a Man United fan, so yeah, none of them support Leicester, to be fair, which is quite random, but based in Leicester and what have you. But hey, that's football, isn't it? That's football, isn't it?
It certainly is. Yeah, let's just move on to you now, Stu, and we'll chat about Darlo Fans Radio, because obviously it's going from strength to strength, and you must be delighted with how it's going.
It's great. I mean, I think the thing that staggers me so much with Darlo Fans Radio probably is I think we're into about the 11th season now where we've not missed a game, which for like a bunch of just volunteers doing it's pretty good. And most credit goes to Mike Cansfield for that. And to pay tribute to Mike for a little bit, I think he's planning on hanging up or semi-hanging up his microphone at the end of the season. It'd be a big miss because, the easy bit of doing the commentary is talking about the football. The difficult bit is, packing your car up, taking your own equipment, driving down to Needham Markets the Saturday before Christmas on your Todd and going and, being prepared to find a power source or power yourself and get the show on the road. So all credit to Mike. He's done a fantastic job and he'll be missed. We're hoping that he stays around to do a few games for us. But the rest of us will continue and try and sort of manage some of those away games, I think, by committee next year. One of the things that we're super pleased with is the partnership that we've been able to develop with Teesside University. We've got a couple of great students, Max and Harvey, who are helping us with the Darling Football Club app at the moment, previews for us, and we're integrated with their course in Teesside, and we're hoping to extend what that partnership could look like around all of the matchday media, including highlights, camera operators, editing of highlights into next year. So we'll see if we can do that, if we can find some path forward for that. If we look at our matchday media team, we've obviously had some big name departures in the last couple of years. We missed Kev since Kev's gone, who was such a reliable camera operator and editor, did such an amazing job. Simon off the socials, we lost sometime last year. So we've been trying to kind of reorganise ourselves around the resources that we've got. So that's it's a point of pride that we've kept the show on the road all through these years. If I think about it personally, without making this into a big long monologue, the thing that's probably been the most fun this year is that in the home games, Mike Price and I have managed to sort of force ourselves into doing some post-match stuff with some of the players, and that's been a real treat actually. So I've been doing this almost 11 years now. And for most of them, I never spoke to a player, to be honest. We're very detached. We sit over on the other side. We don't bother anyone. We don't trouble anyone. But I think those post-match interviews that we've been able to do, we try and make a little bit more conversational, a little bit more fluid. I've got to know the players better from doing that. But the best thing is, or the thing we're trying to do, is have the fans get to know the players a bit better. Because typically, most of the content that we're able to provide is pretty sort of static, face-to-face interview stuff after the match and stuff like that. And it's a little bit, by definition, those types of environments are a bit kind of sterile. So the fact that we can grab people a little bit afterwards and we can have a little bit more of a conversational chat, get a little bit more out with them, hopefully seems to be going down well with the fans. And I think the players come out of it really well. And Scully knows he's much more connected with the playing squad and the coaches than I ever am. But through the season, you realise actually these are good young men, honestly. They're pretty dedicated, pretty committed. By and large, there's a core group of them from the northeast there, all players have been with us for a while. We're just good people, and it's been a treat to get to know them. And I'm grateful that they continue to come out and have a chat with us after the game. It's not easy when you don't win at home, but so far it seems like they're used to us and we're used to them, and long may it continue.
Thanks, Stewie. And yet, great to mention Michael Cansfield, of course, who's been on this podcast, was on an earlier episode, does a fabulous job. And like you say, not many people probably realise just how much effort he has to go to covering those away games. And of course, Kev Luff and Simon Hahn as well, who have done an amazing job. I think really we're quite spoiled, really, aren't we, with the coverage that we get?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, it has. We need to, the thing is, we've got people there. I'm probably the main one of them that you never want to stand still, and you want to try and get it. I still think there's loads we could do better. Honestly, I think we've got a committee of 5 or 6, maybe 7 camera operators now, but we still haven't got enough people who are editing highlights for us. And the other thing I'd like us to do better on, if we could have the resource, is I think some of our kind of social media stuff around match days could be a bit better as well. I'm thinking of like video sort of content, like TikTok-y stuff and Instagram stuff. And we try and do a little bit, but if I was going to look for an area that we could perhaps focus in on and give a personal opinion, I think there's room to improve some of that stuff as well. And obviously we can always get a little better doing commentary as well, but there's you never want to stand still. That's the thing, because the world never stands still around you. You always want to be trying to get a little bit better each year.
Yeah, definitely. And like you mentioned there, Stewie, the post match that you and Michael Price are doing now, I think that's gone down really well. And like you say, you're getting to know the players a little bit better. Now Scotty Barrow and Toby Lees do a lot. I think you had Matty Cornish on there after the Rushall game yesterday, and it must be great to get to know the fellas a little bit better.
Yeah, good people. They're good people, and hopefully the fans have felt that allows them to get a different perspective and gets to hear the players in a bit more of a like semi-natural environment as well. Okay,
fantastic. Guys, we're going to move on to a quiz, if that's okay with the pair of you. A little bit different this month, because I think generally we've been doing sort of name the lineup. But what I did say to you both was to have maybe a copy of the current Premier League table to hand. So I don't know if you just want to bring that up now. So the quiz today, gents, will be of the current 20 Premier League teams. How many of them have Darlington beaten in a competitive fixture since the end of the Second World War, which is 1945, I believe? So your answer will be somewhere between 0 and 20. So I'm going to give you a little bit of thinking time now, chaps. Just just peruse that league table.
6.
What's that? Sorry,
6.
You're saying 6. I haven't even started the timer yet, Andy. You can just.
I thought you were going to ask team by team, so you want like a total.
Before you jump in with 6.
Right.
So what I will do is I'll start the timer now, chaps. Feel free to play along at home. So how many of the current 20 EPL sides have Darlington defeated in a competitive fixture since the Second World
6.
War? Okay, so Scully's saying 6. He's got a bit more time to think.
Oh my gosh. I much preferred the one where you wanted the FA Trophy squad or the Warsaw squad. I was much more in my comfort zone there. Let me just go through. I'm going to go...
Okay, all right. Well,
all right.
I'm going to come to Scully because he's quite adamant that he's going with 6. You haven't changed your mind, Andy?
Yeah.
No? You're sticking with 6?
No, I'm sticking with 6.
He's sticking with 6. All right, Stewie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think... right, well... The sensible player is either to go 1 below or 1 above him. So I'm going to be optimistic. I'm going to say 7. I've no idea which 7, but 7.
Stewie's gone 7, Andy's going 6. Neither of you have the right answer. Stewie, I can tell you... Hang on. Stewie, you are closest. The answer is 9. We have defeated 9 of the current 20 EPL sides. Okay, I'm going to go through the answers. So, Andy, you did mention Nottingham Forest there back in the League Cup. That was in 2000. Yeah. So, Nottingham Forest, Chelsea, in the FA Cup. We've beaten Brighton when they were in our division. Last time was back in 1999. It was 4-0. Marco Gabbiadini hat-trick. We've beaten Bournemouth, Fulham, Crystal Palace in the 1960 League Cup. Brentford.
Crap. Yeah.
West Ham also in that League Cup season, 1960, we beat Palace and then we beat West Ham. If there's anyone listening to that
yes.
who can remember, that's even too early for you, Scully, isn't it? 1960.
Yeah. I did
and we've
remember.
also
I knew we'd lost to them. Right.
Yeah,
yes.
we beat Palace and West Ham, and then went on to lose to Bolton, which I think was the highest ever attendance at Feethams in the next round. I think it was Nat Lofthouse's last season at Bolton. So yeah, there you go. So we've beaten 9 of the current EPL clubs. Which one do you think's the most recent then? Which would be the most recent?
The most recent probably would be Nottingham Forest.
Well, I was there at that one, so that's definitely in my time. I remember that game.
Or Brentford.
Yeah, Brentford getting closer. That was 2008. We beat them 3-1. Gian Sundu, Julian Joachim and Paul Abbott on the score sheet that day. But there's one more in 2009.
Bournemouth?
Correct, Scully. Yep, we beat AFC Bournemouth 2-1 at the arena at the beginning of 2009. It was Paul Abbott and Rob Purdy. A game that was also Eddie Howe's first ever game in management, his first game for Bournemouth. So that was, back in 2009.
What's also interesting is we've played 13 of those 20 sides in a competitive fixture.
Well, what I've got here, because if you're listening and you know I've got this wrong, feel free to let me know. According to my records, we've never met Liverpool, Newcastle, Tottenham, Man United, or Southampton in a competitive game since the Second World War. Anyway, obviously we've got close to Liverpool and Newcastle if we'd won a couple of cup games. Yeah.
14 because we played Arsenal, of course. I forgot about them.
We did it back in 1965 in the FA Cup.
Yeah.
So
Everton 1978, Goodison Park. I was there.
So if my memory serves right, Adam, and I'm going back a long way here, I think that Notts Forest won in the League Cup. I think the winner was Stuart Elliott, if I remember rightly, and I think it was Dave Besant in goal for Notts Forest, and he came right out of his goal, and the ball came to Elliott. And he put it in from near the halfway line in front of the away end, which was pretty good night.
He did. I didn't get to that game. I went to the first leg, which was 2-2, but I didn't get to. I don't know. I was back at uni or something. I didn't get to go to that second leg. I did not think for a second we had a chance there. I looked at the Forest lineup, and Dave Besant was in goal. I think David Platt was playing as well. He might have even been player manager of Forest.
He scored at Feethams. Yeah. David Platt.
There you go, David Platt, nonetheless. So little bit of trivia there to finish off.
Fantastic.
All right, we'll leave it there, guys, just before my Wi-Fi drops out again. So this is the second take if you want to know. But
second take was much better than the first one, Adam.
What's that? Sorry.
Second take was much better than the first one. Should have seen how bad that was.
Yeah, I think so, wasn't it? Yeah, I think that's fair. So, thanks to Scully and to Stuart, and also to Paul Arnison as well. I think the hope is to be back after the Needham Market game for next month's pod, and who knows, maybe we're talking about some playoffs. Who knows? Funnier things have happened. Big thanks to you as well, listener, of course, for downloading this episode. Yeah, we're on Facebook, Twitter, X. You can find us there. Also YouTube as well. Big thanks for your time, boys.
Thank you.
Anytime.
And we'll see you next
time for bed. Time for bed now, Adam.
Time for bed here, yes. Past 10 o'clock here, so I'm off to bed. Thank you, guys.